Hey guys, hope you all doing good and welcome back to the channel. It's appreciated taking a little bit of time out of your day to check the video out. And I've got one of those tips today that's probably going to rile a few feathers. It seems like anytime that you talk about, there's three different things I've noticed that you talk about that riles feathers in some people. If you talk about braided fluorocarbon, if you talk about live scope, or if you talk about certain lines being better than another, there's some dudes out there that just take that personally. I'm not really sure what the deal is, but this is probably going to be one of them, because I'm going to tell you guys why you need to be using heavy fluorocarbon line over braid most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. I'm sort of going to break it down for you guys and explain why. And then you can make your own judgments from experience, because I've came to this conclusion over decades of experimenting with both. So I'm going to share with you guys what I've learned on it. So anyway, just real quick before we get started, just a quick reminder, April 15th, Johnny and I have our next virtual Fish the Moment seminar. We're going to be doing post-spawn patterns. This is going to be probably our most info-packed seminar we've ever done. Johnny's going to cover all the offshore post-spawn stuff. I'm going to cover all the shallow water post-spawn stuff. It's going to be interactive, a good time, 3-hour seminar, 6 to 9 p.m. And you can sign up for that on fishthemoment.com. And also, just a big thanks to everybody. It looks like tomorrow or the next day, we're going to hit 30,000 subscribers, which I just can't believe it. I mean, I'm just, so grateful for that. And when we hit 30,000, we're going to give away another pair of, we gave away a pair at 25,000. We're going to give another pair of Solar Bat, my signature series glasses, courtesy of Solar Bat, and a big old supply of Bridgeford beef jerky. So all you guys have to do is hit that subscribe button and you get a chance to win it. So, okay, let's get into this braid versus fluorocarbon deal. There's a lot to this, is what we talked about. There's a lot of applications. There's places for both. But the trend that I've seen over the past 3 or 4 years is everybody going to braided line for most of their flipping applications. I think what happens a lot of time is guys see some pros doing it on TV and they just get on the bandwagon and they follow, what they're seeing, what they're hearing out there without really experimenting themselves. And I'm telling you right now from my experience, and you can prove me wrong, just go out and do your own experiments with it, but you will get more bites and you will land more bass in a lot of situations with your pitching and flipping if you put away your braid and put on that heavy fluorocarbon. When I'm talking about heavy fluorocarbon, I'm talking about, just before I even say it, what do you think heavy fluorocarbon is? Most people that I talk to, they don't go above 20. They think 20 is the max. I'm talking 25 and 30 pound test fluorocarbon. I grew up flipping 30-pound test line most all the time, and I still, for my hardcore pitching and flipping applications, I use 25 and 30 all the time. And there's a lot of different advantages to that. I'm going to cover it. First of all, let's get into the negatives of braided line, why I don't like it for pitching and flipping, and when I do. When I'm punching, and when I'm flipping those big weights in the matted vegetation, in the real thick Florida stuff or the matted grass, yeah, I use braided line like everybody else, because in that situation, that is the most effective way to do it. Although there are times to use heavy braid, even for flipping mats, under certain situations. Braided line can actually, the noise that braid makes going over vegetation can actually spook the fish. And if you talk to all the top flippers, I've heard JT Kenny talk about this, they go to heavy fluorocarbon a lot of times, even flipping mats, because it's a more quiet presentation. But one of the drawbacks that I see, and I notice this from my co-anglers, because I see them all spooled up with braid when we're flipping bushes or flipping docks or whatever. You're not going to get near the bites on braid most of the time that you will on fluorocarbon line. I mean, yeah, if you're flipping in 12 inches of water and you've got 3 inches of visibility, yeah, I'll give you that. That's not going to make that much of a difference. But most of the time, if you're flipping bushes, trees, docks, stumps, laydowns, that type of stuff, and you have water visibility that's over 12 inches, those bass can see that line, and you're not going to get the bite. So that's the number one detriment right there to it. It's going to cut down your bites. Number two, since there's no stretch in fluorocarbon, I mean, since there's no stretch in braided line, you have a tendency to tear the fish's mouth when you set the hook with a jig or like some type of a flipping hook. A lot of people haven't got into the whole pulling into it deal. They still jack them as hard as they can. They'll tear a roof and tear up a piece of the mouth and the fish will jump off. A lot of times that happens with it. Another reason that I don't like braided line to flip with most of the time is the bait falls different on braided line. The fall rate and the way the bait sinks on fluorocarbon line is completely different than it is on braided line. And if you flip a lot like I do and you pay attention to details with jigs and Texas rigs, you notice that they don't have the same fall rate. The reason I like fluorocarbon line is just for those opposite reasons. I like the feel that it has. I don't want, this live nerve ending to the fish. I mean, I want that bite dulled a little bit. So the fluorocarbon line, even though it's very sensitive, it's not as sensitive as the braided line. It gives me a little bit more hesitation, because when I set the hook flipping, I never set the hook flipping as soon as I get the bite. I always let the fish move before I set the hook on it, every single time. And also you'll find is on 25 and 30 pound test, if you fish like a 1/2 ounce jig or a 1/2 ounce Texas rig, for whatever reason, I just get a lot more bites on it the way that bait falls. And one of my mentors, Terry Thomas, told me about this too. He says that, the way that a 1/2 ounce weight falls on 25 and 30 pound test will just get you more bites than if you're flipping even with like 17 or 20 pound test. I found that to be true all over the country. Now, the reason I like it, aside from the fact that you get more bites, it is invisible. And it gives me a big confidence boost to know when I pitch that 25, 30 pound test line, I still have power to put as much pressure as I want to on that fish, but that fish is not going to be able to see that line. The only factor that determines the line size on fluorocarbon is not the ability of the fish to see the line, but it's to be the most efficient that you can possibly be with that presentation. So when I'm using the 25 and 30 pound test, most of the time I'm using like anything, anywhere between like a 3/8 to 3/4 ounce jig or bullet weight. That's the feel that I'm on it. If I'm going lighter, like 3/16, 1/8 ounce, quarter sometimes, most of the time I'm going down to 20, simply because you got a better feel on the bait. When you another big advantage is just the landing factor. That little bit of stretch that you have with fluorocarbon line, I feel that it hooks the fish better. It doesn't tear their mouths like the braided line does. So I like it from that standpoint. And I just like the way the bait feels better. I like the way it comes off the spool. It's a lot more quieter. I just think the presentation is a lot more natural. And you got to, think about this. If you're pitching a dock piling and you're, pitching say a 5/16 ounce creature bait next to a dock piling, if you're a bass and you see those two things falling down there, and you're very aware of your environment as a bass, they've been here for over 3 million years on this planet, I guarantee that there's times that the bass can see that line down there. And sometimes they're going to bite it and it's not going to matter, but I'm wanting to catch all those fish. I don't want any detriment or negative to the bite reflex, and simply going to the fluorocarbon line takes that element away, especially if you're fishing on the edge of cover like docks, or pitching to the edge of stumps or something like that. So anyway, the point of today's video, guys, is don't feel like you have to get on the bandwagon of this braided line deal just because you see some pros doing it. It's the same deal with boat flipping. Don't feel because you see some dude on the Elite Series boat flipping a 5-pounder that you got to flip a 5-pounder on it. Just try some of the stuff I'm talking about and prove me wrong. I mean, let me know how it goes for you. I mean, I get comments all the time about people trying some stuff I'm suggesting and they find the same, results, what I'm testing them. I'm not giving you guys these tips out here just to, hear myself talk. I'm trying to share information with you guys that will help you catch more fish. And I can promise you right now, you will get more bites and you will catch more bass if you put that braided line in the rod locker and only use it when you're flipping mats. Use 25 and 30 pound test fluorocarbon all the time. The line that I use with it, I use 25 pound test Seagar Invisex line. I've used Seagar for 15 years or more now, and I've used all the lines they make, and I really like the way that AbrazeX performs overall in the whole thing, the casting, the strength, abrasion resistant, everything like that. So anyway, that's today's tip, guys. I know it'll help you out. Give it a try. You know, make a commitment this spring on your flipping to put that braided line away, and you'll be getting a lot more bites. So thanks for tuning in, guys, again. We'll be back soon with another one. Bye.